Hello, ACT family. Today's guest is a powerhouse in the world of veterinary medicine. Kristin Freitas holds a Bachelor of Science, is a registered veterinary technician, and has earned the coveted VTS in emergency and critical care, a credential that represents the elite of the elite in our field. But her impact does not stop at treatment table. Kristen is a leader in the veterinary education and learning development, serving as a driving force at Ethos Veterinary Health. She is known for raising the bar in clinical training, mentoring future leaders, and speaking at some of the profession's most respected conferences and platforms. Whether she's saving lives in the ICU or shaping the minds of future techs, Kristen brings purpose, precision, and passion to everything she touches. It's an honor to welcome a voice who doesn't just work in the vet med, she's helping elevate it. Kristen Freitas, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me, Ryan.
Yeah, thank you. Um, let's jump right in and
Yeah.
talk and get to know you. Uh, do you think the standard of care in veterinary emergency medicine is becoming too protocol driven and not tech driven?
I've been thinking about this question because I'm glad you sent them to me ahead of time because I'd like to dwell on questions a
Okay.
little bit.
Yeah.
This one's, I think, a little bit hard because I think there are a lot of different ways in which us moving toward a more protocol driven way of doing things does elevate our medicine because it pushes people to do things in the evidence-based way as opposed to that's the way I've always done it and that's
Yeah.
how it's always worked and I don't see that there's anything bad about it. So I think it pushes us that way. There's
Hmm.
also a lot of studies in human medicine to show that having those standardized protocols reduces your chance of having medical errors.
Sure.
So just overall, I feel like it's a little bit safer for our patients. But there is no single protocol that can account for every single situation we're ever going to see in our
Yeah.
patients because medical is ultimately very variable. It's going to take a left turn. You think you're on this path, and then it's going to go the other direction, and that direction is going to be nowhere on that protocol sheet. So
Yeah.
you need to have enough, I think, of that critical thinking skills in
Hmm.
order to know when you have to vary from those protocols because they're never going to cover everything that's needed.
Yeah. That's a really good point. Some say veterinary techs are doing doctor level work for assistant level pay.
Mm-hmm.
Is the industry exploiting its most skilled technicians?
I think there is hands down no argument that they need to pay us better. That is
Okay.
100% true. I think the opposite is true, though. I think a lot of technicians probably find themselves in situations where they're not being utilized to the maximum of their skills and their knowledge level. So they're being
Mm-hmm.
asked to here, hold this dog, and the
Mm-hmm.
doctor's doing the tech things as
Mm-hmm.
opposed to the doctor going off to do their thing. They left their order, and now we can do our job and do those things.
Yeah.
I don't know how to draw that line. Like some states have been really good about drawing that line. Like this is a doctor job, this is a tech job, and then there are other states like here in California that it's very loose. Like the only things we are technically prohibited from doing with our license is diagnosing and surgery,
Mm-hmm.
and that leaves a whole lot of other stuff on the table depending upon how far you want to take that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And some techs like to take it a lot farther. I don't know that I'd be super comfortable like maybe a simple unblocking of a cat because that's just a urinary catheter placement in the end of things. But like, I don't know about getting into that really um, difficult unblocking where you might lacerate the urethra and then things would be all bad.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because ultimately it's the doctor's license that covers that. It's not ours.
Yeah. What's one clinical habit you see, even among seasoned techs, that quietly weakens patient care?
we fall into habit. People like habit. And so we like to be the
Yeah.
same. We want to do what we know how to do. And so at a certain point, I think we stop stretching ourselves to learn those new things.
Yeah.
Worst thing I think I ever hear anybody say on the floor is, uh, but that's how we've always done it. And they've
Mm,
themselves off from learning something new or figuring out how things have advanced since the last time they were taught. Um, you didn't, in my intro, talk about how long I've been around. I've been around a long time. I've been in the field since the 1900s.
yeah.
And so a lot of the things I have seen that I learned when I first came into the industry, I would no longer do because those things just have been proven to not be a good way, not safe for patients, not safe for technicians, not
Yeah.
outcomes that we want. And to stay in that mindset, I find some techs do. And that scares me. They're
Yeah.
great technicians, but they've shut themselves off from learning those new things.
I don't know about you, but I also run into baby technicians who have been at one place and
Hmm.
swear by that way.
Yes, when they come to the new hospital and they're all, but my at my hospital, I'm all no, because this is your hospital now.
Right.
And you're about to learn something new. Yes, because there is not just one right way to do things in a
Right.
lot of situations. So,
Yeah.
um, and having multiple ways to do it helps out the patient because maybe way A doesn't work in this patient, but way B would. And so
Well,
we can help them still.
that's one thing that I really love about the field as well, with respect to whatever the situation or task we're doing,
Hmm.
with experience and being able to see multiple things, um, you're able to pivot a
Hmm.
lot easier and say, oh, actually, we can't do it this way, but I remember this way which we had done back there that which we no longer do allows us to achieve the
Yep.
results that we need without X, Y, and Z.
Yep.
And
It definitely, like, sometimes the old way of doing things do save the day. Like,
mhm,
just because we've been doing it for 20 years doesn't mean it's wrong.
right,
And it has to change. It's just making sure we're open to those evolutions and building a bigger toolkit so we have more
yep,
tools in our kit to help the patients.
sure, sure. Um, should hospitals be required to have a VTS level tech during ICU or overnight shifts?
And by that, you mean like someone who knows as much as a VTS and has the skills, but maybe hasn't passed the test, just has, or do you mean someone who's actually earned that designation?
I think someone who's earned the designation because I mean, it I think it gets tricky
Hmm.
having someone who has the knowledge but hasn't.
Proven it yet.
Yeah, yeah. Not to say that that's you know bad,
Hmm.
but I do think there comes a respect factor with having that designation.
Most definitely. And I do think having someone with that level of knowledge on every single shift would be ideal.
Yeah.
There's just not enough of us yet.
Right.
Yet we're getting there.
Yeah.
And then hopefully at some point that will be more the standard of care. Because I do think having a VTS on the team helps the team grow.
Right.
Just by having them there as an example of where you can get to.
What does it mean to have a VTS in your mind?
So for me, it's really about the knowing of things,
Hmm.
more so than the doing of things. So that you do have to be able to prove that you've mastered a certain set of advanced skills.
Yeah.
But I don't have to be a VTS in order to have those advanced skills.
Yeah.
I do have to be a VTS in order to have passed the test, which proves that I have a certain level of knowledge.
Yeah.
And that knowledge comes into play in so many different ways. This is why I truly love, like, my specialty is emergency and critical care.
Yeah.
But you can keep emergency. I love critical care. Like that is what really draws me in.
Yeah.
Because at any point, something I know may be important to that patient's care, and something random that seems seemingly random might be what takes that patient on the path so that they actually get better, versus if I hadn't known it, hadn't, you always consult with the doctor and make sure that we're all on the same page saying, hey, I'm noticing this, I think it's this, and then we can move down that path.
Right.
I think it really is that extra level of the knowing of things.
Yeah, I really appreciate having someone with that level of knowledge to work with. And you're right, it's not necessarily to do the things, but to validate and to learn from and to bounce
Yep.
ideas off of. And just an extra layer of protection to knowing we're giving that quality care.
Yep. I love it. Well, I'll take all the critical patients.
Yeah. Well, I think too, I like working in certain settings that has the ability to have those multiple RVT, VTS, LVT members on staff.
Yes.
I feel like you learn lots.
It's just good for the team. Just overall good for patient care, because then you have another brain thinking about what's going on with that patient and bringing another level of experience to it. I try as a VTS. Yes, I know a lot of things. I don't know everything.
Right.
So even like those RVTs or those veterinary assistants that might be part of the team, they have a different set of experiences that they're bringing to that patient's care as well.
Yeah.
And making sure they feel comfortable and voicing their opinions on those patients is also super important to me,
Yeah.
because that's equally as valid. Yes, I worked hard to get my VTS and have this extra layer of knowledge, but they know a whole bunch and bring a whole bunch to the table too. So I like to respect that. I like the team.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, moving on, are virtual CE platforms watering down the hands-on rigor needed in ECC, or are they empowering the next wave of leaders?
I think it's really about how you use it,
Yeah.
because it is never going to be enough in and of itself. You can never just read something and then you're good to go and do it. Like that's
Yeah.
just not how things work.
Yeah.
But it's really good for filling in that why aspect, because we need to know that as well.
Hmm.
And then I think that needs to be paired with something you do in hospital. Like if you can have an in-hospital mentor who can help you with the how aspects to make sure that you're doing the how parts correctly.
Right.
And that would be a great way to empower those people in the hospital to help their coworkers and for that growth to happen, but still utilize all of those platforms, because there's a lot of very good information that's easy to digest in them.
Hmm.
Some of, and this might be something you don't know about California. So we have CE requirements in California for RVTs, and we
Hmm.
need our 20 CE credits over 2 years.
Hmm.
But only 4 of those can be online platforms and
Yeah.
yeah. So it's very limited what is applicable still at this point.
Yeah. I
Probably because of that hands-on nature that we need. So they were worried about making it too
yeah.
easy. I don't know.
Well, I I would argue that I believe that is the proper way it should be done,
Mhm.
because at least for learning and treating patients, it's I think having the hands-on experience really sets.
You need it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's one thing to take the module, it's another thing to do the things. Um, when I'm designing programs, I always look at the 2 aspects. Like there's the why and there's the how. And I can provide a lot of the why with those online platforms,
Hmm.
but they need to be able to take that and see how it applies in their everyday jobs, or it's just wasted time for them. So
Yeah.
that's always the struggle for us, is how we build in something to help them take it back to their hospital so they can see how it works for them in their why.
Let's
Yeah.
You just mentioned when you're designing programs. I thought it'd be nice to take a minute to explain to everyone um, what you do.
So I am the manager of clinical learning and development for Ethos Veterinary Health, which sounds a hell of a lot fancier than it actually is. It's a great title.
Yeah.
But basically, I work in a large corporation as part of their learning and development department. And my main focus is training programs for basically veterinary assistants and RVTs,
Hmm.
and veterinary technicians, so to help them get to that level. Like if you're a VA and you want to become an RVT, we have programs to help you get there. And if you are that RVT and you want to continue to grow, we have programs to help you continue to grow. Being that my specialty is ER and
Hmm.
critical care, one of the big programs we have going right now is a mentorship program that we have designed for our hospitals. So there's a lot of online content, but you have to have an in-hospital mentor in order to finish the hands-on aspects of, like, you have this course on patient assessment. Okay. That doesn't tell you really how to, it gives you a lot of information, but doesn't tell you how to assess a patient. So you
Hmm.
really need that hands-on aspect with your mentor.
Hmm.
So we have the mentors in the hospital, and we provide the mentors tools in order to help review that course material with them, because that's
Yeah.
another thing that technicians don't have is a whole lot of time.
Yeah.
So having to build those kind of activities to say, how am I teaching this person this on the floor, is really hard. So we do a lot to make sure the mentors are armed in order to teach the people that are part of the program.
Yeah. Yeah. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Um, any interest in plugging the learning and other learning and development business that you do?
So I also do some training on the side because I guess I just can't get enough of it. I work with Kim Adams, and we have K&K Veterinary Learning and Development. And we
Hmm.
do, you can hire us. We'll come in, we'll do race approved lectures for your hospital if that's all you want. We much prefer to do a lot of hands-on stuff. We're both Recover certified instructors, so people bring us in to do a lot of CPR training. I feel like that's the number one thing people have brought us into their hospitals to do, is the CPR training. But
Yeah.
we can do so much more.
Yeah, I just want to let you all know that I reached out and they came out to a hospital that I was managing and they did a bang up job. It
Mm-hmm.
was after
It was
that they were
fun.
like, Ryan, oh, thank you for having these people come. They were so happy. And I think that's so cool to be able to provide that um, learning opportunity and that, again, the hands on learning really makes a
Mm-hmm.
difference. And you guys did such a good, or you did a good job,
Thank
and
you.
the team was engaged, and I was able to make a day out of it, and it
Mm-hmm.
highly recommended, highly recommended.
Thank you, Ryan. I appreciate
Okay.
it. It
Yeah,
was fun. Yeah, you
yeah.
guys had us out for the CPR, and I like to do the chest compressions. We always
Mhm.
try to do a little of that chest compression practice and make it interactive so people aren't falling asleep during the presentations.
Yeah,
I don't like to talk at people too much, despite
yeah.
what this seems like.
No, you did a good. I thought you did
Yeah.
a great job at just balancing that, and it
Mm-hmm.
was you made it about the learning.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm. Everybody, please, K&K Development, go
Find us.
find us, check them out,
Yep.
hire them. Hospital managers, don't hesitate. Hospital owners, it.
We're not terribly expensive. We're well worth it.
Yes, yes, yes. It was. I was able to fit it in
Mm-hmm.
budget for all of you managers out there. Um, what's the biggest myth clinics have about training staff effectively?
Is that they don't understand how learning works. Like, adult learning is a whole different shebang versus how we all learned when we were in school.
Mm,
So I think there's this carryover of, we're just going to lecture at you, you're going to know things, and everything's going to be fine.
mhm,
But that's not how adults learn at all. If it's not important to them and how they apply their job, they're not going to retain any of the information that you give them. So when
mm,
you're trying to teach them something new, the first thing you have to convince them of is that it's important for them to know, and how it's either going to make their job easier or make their patient care better, or why it's important to them. They need the WIFM. What's in it for me?
You're right. Right.
Before they're going to learn anything. And so what I see time and time again is there's some sort of incident at the hospital, some sort of medical error, and we want to make sure it doesn't happen again. And yes, learning comes into that. And so we make everyone take this learning module, and then we check it off and say, okay, we're good. This is never going to happen again. And while that could be part of the plan, I would say that you haven't reduced the risk that that's going to happen again, because those people, they didn't receive the WIFM. They don't know what's in it for them, why they're doing it.
Yeah.
If that wasn't an error that they made themselves, it's really hard for them to learn from someone else's and see why we're doing this now.
Right.
So that's what I see a lot is we give everybody the same thing, and we just expect them to take this module, and then our problems are solved. And then we're frustrated that that's actually not the case, but that's because we're not actually teaching adults the way in which they learn. It's actually much more complicated. And that one module probably isn't enough for all those different knowledge levels. Like,
yeah. Is that something that K&K could help with?
Absolutely. Both Kim and I have been part of the L&D now for, I joined in 2018. Kim has been in it longer because she got pulled. We basically broke ourselves on the floor, and so we needed off the floor jobs, but they felt we were valuable enough to keep. Okay. So we got these other roles, which is great. But it's just like you always seen happen. Here's this learning and development rule. Teach. You're good at being a tech. Now teach this other person to be you. But teaching is a whole different job.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so learning how to do that. So Kim and I have both been in the field for a very long time, and we've actually had managers focused on teaching us how to do that. And so we have a lot of experience in setting that up. If what you need from us is more of a consultation on how to set up like a training program for your hospital and find training that actually sticks, absolutely, we would be there, and we can help develop all of that. Is what I do.
Yeah. Awesome. Are we seeing a real investment in technicians' growth, or is learning just a buzzword to delay burnout?
It's a little bit of both.
Yeah.
I think there is an investment being made, like especially at my level in creating these programs. And there's no one in our clinical learning and development team, which has several different technicians on it. Like it's not just Kim and I, there's 4 of us on the team. And we're in it to really help people improve and learn. But how the hospitals use what we can provide them kind of varies. And some of it does seem a little bit like frosting on the cake, but the cake is rotten.
I see.
So they're taking it and trying to employ it, but they don't actually have any of that learning and development background. And don't listen when we advise them on how best to roll things out. Yeah. And so it like people are getting, again, here's all these modules, take these modules and we're good to go, right? And that again is not the case. Yeah. Back to your first question, they need that hands-on portion, or they really don't know. We need the why and the how, and people feel like filling in the why fills the need, and they're missing the how.
Yeah. Yeah. Little bit of a controversial question. Veterinary medicine is mostly women, yet leadership at the top often isn't. Does that mismatch shape how policy is made?
Absolutely. And not only is it like if you go far enough up, is it mostly men? It's mostly people who haven't been in the veterinary field. Yeah. Which is, I think, a far bigger problem than the fact that they're men, is that they don't have the industry-specific knowledge to be making the decisions that they're making. Some buckle down and they learn what they need to learn. Like some of them do a good job and try to figure out what they need to learn so they can make those good decisions, and they're good about listening to the people with the veterinary knowledge needed. I really like she's our interim president, because technically they're looking for a permanent president, but I kind of hope they keep her because I really like our interim president.
Yeah.
And she's someone I would point to who has gone out of her way to make sure she has the knowledge she needs in order to make those decisions, even though she came from human medicine. She came with a human medicine background instead of a veterinary medicine background. So that dissipates a little bit the further up you go.
Got it. Yeah. 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 With tech burnout at crisis levels, are we asking people to do hero work without hero support?
That's a hard one.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a little bit about how you define hero work. Maybe getting out of bed that day is hero work for that person who's burnt out, and the fact that they show up at all to work and do anything is freaking amazing. But at the end of the day, we have to take care of ourselves. We shouldn't be in those positions. It's another thing I see because Ethos has 153 specialty ER hospitals, and I've seen this issue at some of them, and it's completely absent at others. And I've got to say, it's really hard for me to figure out what the difference is, because each of those hospitals is different in so many different ways. Like, I couldn't tell you what the secret sauce is of why at this hospital burnout doesn't seem to be the major issue, but at this other hospital, it's definitely something that's taking the staff down. And now maybe we're reducing our hours because we don't have enough staff in order to stay open. Like, it's hard. Like, I wish I knew the magic, but I don't know magic.
I feel like pay does that.
Pay helps a lot because it removes your worry about everything that's happening at home. Like, if you were fairly paid and you didn't have to worry about your bills at home, that's a whole level of stress that's removed.
Yeah.
And then if you can do it without having to work, 30 hours of overtime every week,
or 2 or 3 jobs,
that removes yet another level of stress.
Yeah.
And then there's just the stress inherent in the job itself. Like,
yeah.
And there are ways I think we can, even in hospitals that seem appropriately staffed, I feel like still have people who are suffering from burnout. So it's really hard for me to find like that magic thing. Like, here's this hospital, they have so many people standing around, and yet for sure 5 of them are looking a little bit burnt out when I talk to them. And I'm like, while I'm here, you guys aren't doing a whole lot, but something's driving that burnout. Like, that's not a fake thing. That's not something people are making up. No one wants to feel that way. If you've ever experienced any level of burnout, you don't want to be there, and finding your way back out is challenging.
Yeah. Yeah. I think one of the ways, at least, that I try to combat that is just by human decency interactions and trying to spread joy on my shift. I try to, now this is, it's not playtime by any means, but I ask people how their day is. I'll make a little joke, I'll put on a little music. I will lend a helping hand in a different department. I will spend time getting to know people and, really be genuinely interested in how they're doing. And I think things like that can be contagious. And it, at least on my shift, I can say that people will then feel a little lighter rather than the heavy workload, and then just everybody just so burnt out and tired, and they just feel like, ugh.
Be the person you want to work with. Absolutely. Like, trying to keep it positive in the face of some of the things we see can be challenging. So I admire that you do that.
What actually works when it comes to improving the mental health of ICU and ER teams, and what's just fluff? what I just said.
I think everything you just said plays a key role. It's a lot about attitude and the attitude of the team.
Hmm.
It's not, I think, a lot about, and I know this is a question you probably have further down, about like those pizza parties and those little gifts you get people.
Yeah.
But making sure everyone in the team feels appreciated and feels and knows the impact they're making on in their
Yeah.
job.
Yeah.
Like I think a lot of people get so lost in the weeds of just getting through the task of the day that they lose sight of what they've actually accomplished. They saved this pet's life.
Yeah.
They've kept this family from losing a family member, and they lose sight of just how amazing a job they're actually doing. Um, so in addition to keeping things positive, like if there are ways to really celebrate our successes, we really need to do that. We're full of type A people in vet med,
Yeah.
and we tend to focus on, oh my God, I made that mistake. And like I could tell you every mistake I've made in my career in detail because they still cycle in my brain when
Hmm.
I do anything remotely similar so that I don't do it again. But I couldn't tell you my successes. And I bet you those outnumber those mistakes. So
Yeah.
just trying to find ways to really highlight those successes and those everyday successes, not just like, oh my God, we have this dog that got hit by a car after it ate rodenticide and we got him out of the hospital and he's alive and he's back with his family. Like that's a huge undertaking, but there are smaller successes along the way that we should be celebrating as well. Like not just
Right.
those colossal cases.
Yeah. What innovations or products do you believe will define the next era of emergency veterinary care? And what should companies be focusing on right now?
I think, well, keep in mind my focus is learning and development. And so there's been a lot of development in the different types of simulation software and things that you can do with AI, as well as the models that are available. And I
Hmm.
think we're getting really close to where maybe we will no longer have to use cadavers for our teaching, which will make
Mm.
things so much better.
Hmm.
People, there's always a part of you when you're working on a cadaver to learn a new skill that just doesn't, you're sad that that one died. And yes, it's leading towards you can save other lives, but we are on the cutting edge of these models that can truly, like they're 3D printed and they can
Yep.
truly help you learn those skills without there having to be that patient
Yeah.
or that past patient.
Yeah.
Um,
Totally agree.
I can't wait. I
Yeah.
just need a female urinary catheter model that's super successful. I haven't seen that one yet, but it'll come.
Hey, all the companies that are looking at this
Mm-hmm.
video,
It'll come. Come on.
we need that. If a sponsor asks you, what really supports a vet tech team beyond coffee mugs and pizza parties, what would you say they should invest in? Is it a 3D printer?
That would be totally awesome. Just 3D print all my models and then we'll just
Yep.
go from there. Um, that's hard because of what they can bring to the table.
Hmm.
One of the things I think we really have to get away from is thinking that everybody feels appreciated if we do the same thing, but
Yeah.
people's way of feeling appreciated varies.
Right.
Have you heard of the love languages?
Yes. Yes.
So, like, love languages are appreciation languages, and they
Yeah.
can be applied at work as well. I mean, be careful about the physical touch one because that's not okay for everything.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah.
like, words of affirmation and gifts and you helping me out, these are all things that I think we don't take advantage of enough in helping our team feel appreciated. Um, and some people will like those gifts, but for others, they really would feel better appreciated if you were there next to them, spending some quality time and
Yeah.
helping them with some tasks. And so, figuring out how to have enough stuff for all those different appreciation languages, I think they could go a bit better. Like, they
Yeah.
could give us things that are, in that gift category, but they could do things for like the affirmations. Like they could
Yeah.
come across with something just to recognize how great the team is and help our hospitals recognize how great our teams are. They could do things to help us.
Yep.
Like some of us, that's what we need. If we need, I feel appreciated if you see that I'm struggling and you come and help me. Well, I'm struggling with your equipment. Come and help me.
Right. Right.
And
Right.
I'm sure like there could be ways they could work that in. Um,
Yeah.
I don't know. I know that took a strange turn when I started talking about the love languages, but
No, well, where my mind went with that is, and I think Ethos is doing this, but it just needs to be expanded. I feel like is they have the mental health person,
Mhm.
but they're not there all the time.
Yeah.
But if we could carve out, I watched this show called Billions, and I don't know if you've seen it, but they have they're like this tech um, company who does excuse me, who does stocks and bonds, and they like, I don't know, they make their money that way.
Hmm.
But they have the this person who is the psychologist or mental health person, and
Yep.
whenever they're struggling with an idea or whether to go or stop, sometimes they'll go see their in-house
Yeah.
psychologist or mental health person, and they'll talk through what they're going through in their life or their day or whatever, and really break down what's hindering them from being their best
And able
selves.
to keep moving forward. Yeah.
Exactly. And I think I always thought that was cool because if you take that to vet med, and you had, like,
Hmm.
I'm struggling today, this happened at home, blah blah blah. We're able to actually have a mini session and break through that, and then you go back to work feeling like, oh, actually, this is not about my
Hmm.
performance. It's not even about this, but
Yep.
now I can perform better because I was able to dissect or be heard and things like that. I think that
Yeah.
would help
The
a lot.
use of the social workers in hospitals is pretty amazing. It's pretty cutting edge still. Like most of our hospitals don't have them at this point.
Yeah.
But the interactions I've had with social workers working in hospital, it really takes a lot of the burden off the staff,
Yeah.
and helps in so many different ways. Like the staff is just more, I won't say happier because it's challenging every day at work to be happy, but they're more resilient and better able
Mhm.
to handle those challenges.
Well, I think I've also encountered in this podcast journey a lot of technicians who've decided to take on second jobs or their own businesses
Hmm.
as mental health life coaches. And why not utilize those people and
Yeah.
actually, invest in the people who are actually trying to take care of us?
Hmm.
Because,
And they know like they've been where we've been as well. So like there's that extra level of connection. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. What's something about emergency vet work that the public completely misunderstands, but techs know all too well?
Maybe it's not just the public misunderstands this, but it's best that they just don't know how sick our sense of humor is. Like we see so much trauma and so many bad things. Some days it really is. Are you going to cry? Are you going to laugh? And most
Yeah,
of the time we choose to laugh. And if the owners came back at that moment, they probably would not appreciate
yeah,
the coping mechanism that that actually is.
yeah,
But we have some of the darkest humor, and it's everybody.
yeah,
Like everybody in the ER. We will. You thought you weren't going to be there. We'll win you over. You'll be laughing at these truly inappropriate times in no time.
yeah, yeah. Agreed. What's one moment, good or bad, that's burned into your memory and still shapes how you walk into every shift?
So this is way back in my baby tech years at one of the first GPs I ever walked into. We didn't have anybody who stayed like staff wise overnight,
Hmm.
but occasionally owners are owners and they would insist on not taking their pet into the ER clinic we would recommend, and they would leave them there overnight,
Yeah.
always with us saying they may not be alive the next day.
Right.
So I was off, and the next day I come in and there's a dog in this cage, and I know nothing about this dog, and it had been left there overnight, and I'm staring at it and I'm going, are you asleep or are you dead?
Yeah.
I'm like it's IV fluids had been left running. Its pump was alarming because there's nothing like
Yep.
it was not alive, and I feel like that's like just that's not good. Like I didn't even know that there was a patient there overnight the night before because I hadn't been there the day before. So just not knowing what to come into and
Yeah.
having that be what greets you is really challenging. And the dog was like perfectly positioned in this cute little curled up sleeping. Like I legit could have convinced myself that it was breathing.
Yeah.
if I hadn't actually touched it. So just things like that might be one of the things that really led me into ER medicine, because I want to make sure there's always someone on that overnight staff to actually care for that patient.
Yeah.
And I know sometimes with the cost of things, because there's a cost to everything, it can be challenging to leave your pet there. But if that's the alternative, like that, it's sad to me that that patient died alone.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. Well, thank you for giving us not just your time, but your wisdom, honesty, and heart. You've reminded us that being a veterinary professional isn't just about clinical skill, it's about courage, leadership, and pushing this profession to be better, safer, and more sustainable for those on the front lines. You're not just a voice in vet med, you're a movement. I know the people listening, whether they're vet techs, students, or hospital leaders, are walking away inspired, challenged, and seen. And that's exactly what this profession needs. We appreciate you, we celebrate you, and we're honored to have had you on this show. Thank
Thank
you
you, Ryan.
so much.
It was I was happy to join.
Yeah, thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, K&K develop Learning and Development.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I'll post a link to their site on the description.
Mm-hmm.
Reach out to them; they are available and highly recommended.
Yep. And we'll go anywhere, wherever you're at, even if we live kind of close to the San Francisco Bay Area. So that's mostly
Mhm.
where we go around.
Okay,
But if you want to fly us out, we're happy to go wherever you need us.
awesome. Will you be at IVEX this year?
I will. I'm very excited. It's in California this year, so it makes my
Yeah,
travel time really easy. So I will be there.
definitely. We'll definitely have to collaborate. We'll be getting live footage from the event as well, and we'll definitely make sure to stop in and chat with you and say
Yeah.
hello.
Thanks, Ryan.
Yeah, thank you for your time. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Ryan from Athletic Conceptual Training with another high quality veterinary professional interview. Thank you for your time.